Hello, hello, hello. I welcome you all to this amazing live session by Great Learning. And today we'll see how to create the perfect resume if you are looking to apply for any of the machine learning jobs. Now, before I go ahead, give me a quick confirmation if you can see my screen and if you folks can hear me properly. So, all of the folks who are attending, give me a quick confirmation in the chat section. That would be amazing. And before we move ahead, let me tell you about Great Learning Academy. So, Great Learning Academy is a free learning initiative by Great Learning where you have a lot of courses with respect to domains such as data science, ML, artificial intelligence, and a lot more. And the best part is, once you complete any of these courses, you'll get a course completion certificate which you can go ahead and add onto your resume or onto your LinkedIn page, and that would be a huge value add to you folks. And all of these courses have been curated by industry experts, so your learning would be absolutely great. And you'll be able to find the link of Great Learning Academy in the chat section. So someone from my team would be putting up the link of Great Learning Academy over here. And also, let's say if during the lockdown you do not have your laptop with you and you'd want to learn through your phone. So we also have the Great Learning app. So you can directly download the Great Learning app and you'll be able to find all of these courses over there. So just you can just go through the chat section and download the app and start learning from over there. So I see that there are a lot of VSs on the screen. That is great. And now what we'll do is I'd want to know the diversity of the attendees in this particular live session. Could you folks let me know if you are freshers or if you folks have any work experience, and why is it that you'd want to switch to a machine learning job role? So I see that there's a watching of 20. So if all of you folks could give me a quick confirmation on, if you are freshers or if you have any work experience and the reason behind, why you'd want to switch to the ML field, that would be amazing. And also I see that we have only 14 likes. So if all of you could hit the like button, that would be great. And if you haven't hit subscribe to our channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon. That would help us a lot. Arun Kumar says he is a fresher. Others? Folks, I want this session to be extremely interactive. I am conducting this session for you folks. I'm here to help you guys out. So I do want to know, what is it that you're currently doing, if you're a fresher or if you have any work experience. Vineet is a fresher as well. Alok Divya is a fresher. So it seems that most of the attendees are freshers over here. Now, as a fresher, if you do want to get into the field of ML, I'd say this particular live session would help you a lot. And what we'll do is we'll not waste any time and we'll quickly head on to our presentation for today, and we'll understand how is it that you'd have to, develop or create your resume. So, what is it that you actually have to add to your resume? Now, before we head to the technical stuff, whenever you're creating a resume, now since I see that most of your freshers, remember that your resume is not more than one page. Now, only if you have a lot of achievements, that you have, maybe you would have worked on 50 plus projects and you'd have to list all of those projects. That is when, you would have more than, your resume needs to be more than one page. But as a fresher, it would be best if your resume, whatever achievements or whatever skills or whatever projects you worked on, make sure that it fits in exactly one page. Because as a fresher, if you're applying to any of the ML based roles, the HR person or whoever is looking at your resumes, he wouldn't have the time to read through everything that you have listed over there. And normally, whenever you're preparing your resume, there is something important that you as a fresher have to understand. Now, whenever HR is shortlisting your resume through any of the job portal sites such as Naukri, or it could be Glassdoor, or it could be LinkedIn, they usually search through keywords. Now, what exactly are these keywords? So let's say if you're applying for a ML based role or a machine learning role, then a machine learning engineer would normally work on certain fixed projects or certain fixed domains. So machine learning engineer definitely needs to have knowledge of neural networks. So he needs to have knowledge of convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and so on. He also needs to have knowledge of a lot of data science topics. So all of when we say data science, again, it is an umbrella term. So you'd have to know data manipulation, data visualization, how to do data wrangling, and so on. And currently, most of the machine learning engineers work with this pretty amazing language called as Python. And also, you would need a bit of bit of knowledge on SQL as well. So make sure that you add all of these keywords in your resume. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you a sample resume. Now, I just created this sample resume over here where I have listed down what is it that I have done. So here, my graduation, it was in engineering from 2013 to 17. Now, this is how I have created my resume over here. So what I've done is from October 2017 to 2018. Now what I've done is I have listed down the keywords. So here it is important that you understand. So initially as a fresher, I had only worked on this undergraduation major project. So here as you see predictive models. So this predictive models is a keyword. R again is a keyword. R studio is a keyword. And here I also write down the algorithms which I've used. So here as you see I have listed down logistic regression, decision tree and random forest. Now, whenever a HR searches through all of the resumes, he or she would normally write down these keywords according to the job description given by the team members. And in the job description, normally they would write down that this person needs to have knowledge on decision tree or random forest or logistic regression. So ensure that if there is a project where you have worked, where you are implementing something, related to any of these ML algorithms, ensure that you write down these keywords. If you do not write down these keywords and just state that I have worked on a project called as predictive models using R and do not describe it, then obviously the HR, whenever he or she is putting down the keywords, it will not come up. So this is important. Here are other things that I've listed down over here. This is important. So this is a major project which I had done in my undergraduation, and this was long time back. And after that I had done more projects as well, but this is just one project which I've listed down over here. And then you also need to list down your technical skills. And here, if you are applying for a ML based role, it is important that you list down Python, that you list down SQL as well. And apart from these, normally if you're working with ML or deep learning, you have these deep learning frameworks such as Keras and TensorFlow. And right now in the market, Keras is widely used to implement any of your neural networks such as convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and so on. So make sure that you list down these deep learning frameworks. And keep this in mind. Whenever you are listing anything in your resume, make sure that you do not fake anything. Because if you are appearing for the interview, then you will be definitely grilled on whatever you list on your resume. So let's say I've written over here in this resume, I've listed down that I have knowledge of Keras and TensorFlow. And in the interview, I must be, I must be ready to be asked questions on Keras and TensorFlow. And if I do not know these, then it will come as a negative image of me, because you have to remember that only write down the keywords or list down the skills that you actually have or that you actually know. And if you try to add skills just for the sake of it, that always gives a negative image about you. So remember this. And apart from these tools, I've also listed down in programming skills that I have knowledge of data structures and algorithms. So this is the base of undergraduation major project and your technical skills which you have. Then this was my first job from October 2017 to July 2018. And here I just listed down the basic blocks that I worked on, and I had created this entire project with the help of this R programming. And here, as you see, I have listed down the keywords again. ggplot2 again is a keyword. So let's say if someone is looking to hire an R programming expert, and that R programming expert needs to have knowledge on packages such as dplyr or ggplot2, that is why I've listed it over here. Now, this was my first job. For my second job, these were the courses that I had worked on. And here I write down everything in detail. So as you see, I have described each course that I had worked on in detail. So when I say that I've created this data science with R course, I list down everything that I've done. So here I've listed down that I have created a module called as data manipulation, and here I've worked with packages called as dplyr and SQLDF. So again, the HR person would be searching for these keywords. The HR person would be looking at these keywords called as dplyr and SQLDF. Again, for data visualization, I have written down keywords of ggplot2 and plotly. Then for supervised learning algorithms, I've listed down all of these algorithms. Then comes time series. Now, whenever, let's say if you're applying for any of the analytics based roles, time series forecasting is really important. So that is why I've also listed down time series forecasting in my resume as well. And when it comes to interactive dashboards, now let's say when it comes to business intelligence, we have all of these tools called as Tableau, Power BI, and so on. But if you want to create a dashboard directly from RStudio itself, then RStudio provides this package called as Shiny R, and with the help of Shiny R, you can create these stunning interactive dashboards. So this is a good part about this. So these were all of the things that I've listed down when it came to data science, the module which I had created. And I only listed down the topics that I was confident about. So let's say if I go for an interview, and in that interview, if the interviewer asks me anything related to the topics that I've listed down over here, if the interviewer asks me anything related to linear regression, logistic regression, time series, dplyr, SQLDF, I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to answer this. And that is why I have listed down these topics over here. Similarly, again, when it came to artificial intelligence, these were the topics that I've worked on. These were the projects that I'd worked on. So I know the concepts of neural networks, backpropagation, and in neural networks, there are two very important types of neural networks. You have something called as convolutional neural networks, and you also have something called as recurrent neural networks. So let's say in the interview, if the interviewer would ask me about convolutional or recurrent neural networks, I'm pretty sure that I'd be able to answer questions regarding these two topics. Similarly, again, I have worked with these two deep learning frameworks, and that is why I have listed these. And apart from this, I have also listed down SQL DBA over here, because this was also a project which I had taken up. And over here, I had knowledge about monitoring the database, maintaining the database, also monitoring which users should I give the login access to, which users should I restrict the login access to. So all of these things I had worked on, and that is why I've listed these. And let's say if I'm applying for any of the teaching based roles. So let's say if there's a teaching based role for an ML teacher, here I have listed down about the tutorial. So here I made sure that if it's a teaching based role, I've listed down that I've taken more than 50, I've created more than 50 tutorials on these topics. And I've also listed down that I have taken classes with respect to data science, and I've also given the batch size over here. So please ensure that you list down whatever you have done properly, and also ensure that you do not fake anything in your resume, because that will backfire onto you. Let's say if you list down topics which you do not have any idea about or what you're talking about, then the interviewer will definitely think that you're only faking it and you do not have any depth of what you're actually talking about. So that is really important. So now that we have covered this, what I'll do is I will go to the chat section and I will wait for some of your questions. So folks, as I've told you, I want this session to be extremely interactive. If you have any questions, keep them coming up. I will take all of your questions. Arun is asking, I am starting this career path. I graduated as mechanical engineer. My UG project is mechanical engineering based. That's great, Arun. So now when it comes to machine learning, you have to understand that, irrespective of whatever your field is, if you have the requisite skills, you will be hired as, for that specific job role. And when it comes to getting your resume shortlisted, just ensure that you have your relevant keywords listed down in the resume. So that is what it takes. Just ensure that, let's say you have worked on these relevant projects, and I can assure you that you will definitely get a call from these companies. Alok Divya is asking why companies mostly focus on decision tree, random forest, and XGBoost in ML interview. That's a very good question, Alok. And that is why you see I have listed down decision tree and random forest over here. So this is very important. So if you want your ML resume to be shortlisted, these two algorithms are very important when it comes to machine learning, and these are the tree-based ML algorithms. When I say tree-based ML algorithms, these are decision tree, random forest, XGBoost, bagging, boosting, and so on. And these are important because when you talk about random forest or XGBoost, these are ensemble models. Now the difference between a single machine learning algorithm and an ensemble machine learning algorithm is that an ensemble model will most of the time give you a better result than a single ML model. And also, whenever you're building a tree-based model, you have a clear picture of how the decision is being made. So I'll give you guys a simple example. So let's say if the question is whether you have to watch the movie Avengers or not. It's a simple yes or no question. The problem statement is, do you have to watch the movie Avengers or not? And here you have two outcomes, yes or no. And now you can reach the solution through these questions. So let's say the first question is, do you like Robert Downey Jr.? Now, if you like Robert Downey Jr., again, we'll split it into next two branches. So let's say if you like Robert Downey Jr., then the next question would be, do you like Marvel movies? And if you like Marvel movies, the next question would be, let's say, do you like Scarlett Johansson? And if the answer is yes to all of these three questions, finally you will have a yes to the question, should you watch the movie Avengers? So, on the basis of certain important questions, you are reaching the conclusion. And that is why tree-based algorithms are really important, and you have a clear picture of how the decision is being made. Now this is just one tree-based algorithm, which is decision tree. So when you combine multiple decision trees together, what you get is known as a random forest. So let's say if you have hundreds of these decision trees together, and hundreds of these decision trees give you a result, then you take an aggregate of this result. So let's say, again, if you take the same question of whether you should watch the Avengers movie or not, let's say if you ask only one person, and he basically is a DC fan, not really a Marvel fan, and will tell you that Avengers is a really bad movie. Now, just because of this person's bias, this person likes DC movies and not Marvel movies, and that is why this person told you to not watch Avengers. But instead of asking just one person, if I actually ask 10 people, then out of those 10 people, let's say even if 3 people have certain bias, the rest of the 7 people would tell you to watch the movie. So that is why when it comes to ensemble algorithms such as XGBoost or random forest, these are much more accurate and much more trustworthy algorithms when compared to any single classification algorithm such as logistic regression or naive Bayes or SVM. So I hope that answers your question. Kashyap Pandu is saying decision tree is subset of random forest. That is absolutely true. Pratyush Kumar is saying I've learned pandas, numpy and seaborn and did exploratory data analysis, and also now I want to go into the field of machine learning and deep learning, how to proceed further. That's a good question. So Pratyush, when you say that you have basic knowledge of data wrangling and data manipulation, what you have knowledge of, so let's say with your knowledge right now, you can apply for data analyst roles, right? So what a data analyst does is exploratory data analysis, and a data analyst normally needs to have knowledge of only SQL, Python and R. He will not be applying much of ML algorithms. I mean, it's good to have knowledge of machine learning for a data analyst, but most probably he'll be working on the data pre-processing or the data wrangling side of things. So now, what I understand from your question is you would actually want to focus on the ML side of things and not on the data analyst role. So here, as I've told you, start focusing on these things. So now that you know these, you have covered these data manipulation and data visualization. Now that you have covered these, focus on the ML side of things. Learn linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree. Now, when I say learn these algorithms, not just how to implement them with Python or R, but actually understand the underlying concept. So when I say learn linear regression, understand what is linear regression. So linear regression, it is called as linear regression because it is based on the concept of a linear line. And what is the equation of a linear line? The equation of a linear line is y is equal to mx plus c. And this equation is the underlying concept of the linear regression algorithm. So here y is equal to mx plus c, y would be your dependent variable and x would be your independent variable, and you're trying to understand how does y change with x. So these are the concepts which you need to understand, and what you're actually doing as an ML engineer is tweaking the hyperparameters so that you get the perfect value of y. When I say hyperparameters, so in the equation y is equal to mx plus c, your hyperparameters would be m and c. So m is your slope and c is the intercept which it makes on the y-axis. So these are the hyperparameters which you would be tweaking on the knowledge of your of what you've learned with respect to statistics or ML. You'd be tweaking these hyperparameters so as to get the ideal value for your dependent variable. So these are the things that you'd have to focus on. Now this is for the case of ML engineer. But let's say again there is under ML we have another subset called as deep learning. Now let's say if you want to focus on the deep learning engineer roles or the computer vision roles, then you need to focus on these things. So here, now after you have learned exploratory data analysis, after that you also learned about supervised learning and unsupervised learning, then you have to focus on neural networks. So let's say all of the applications related to computer vision. Now let me give you guys a very simple example. So let's say you're on Facebook, and whenever you upload a group photo on Facebook and you hover your mouse on any of the person who is there in that particular photo, you would see that you will have a square box on that person's face and you will also have that person's name over there. So this is a perfect example of computer vision, and this is being implemented through the help of convolutional neural networks. Now similarly, we have something called as recurrent neural networks, and recurrent neural networks is something which is needed when it comes to your chatbots or virtual assistants. So let's say when we take an example of Siri or Cortana, let's say if you ask Siri what is the distance between sun and moon. Now you are speaking in English, but Siri is a machine, it's a chatbot. Now a machine is able to understand English language and it converts that English language into zeros and ones. And again, after processing those zeros and ones, it comes up with an answer, and that answer is again in English. So you see, all of this process is being done with these amazing neural networks called as recurrent neural networks. So if you are applying for any of these deep learning rules, you would have to be clear with all of the concepts of recurrent neural networks and back propagation through time. Then you have certain concepts known as vanishing gradient descent and exploding gradient descent. So these are the topics which you would have to know properly. Bishal Satnami is asking, does the certificate of great learning will help you to get a job? Well, the certificate of great learning is a value add to you folks. Now, let's say if there is one person, let's say we have you and there is another person who maybe has equal knowledge of you but does not have anything to show for that knowledge. So here, since you have those certifications listed out, your resume, there is a greater chance for your resume to be shortlisted than the other guy. And that is where Great Learning provides all of these certificates for free. And this is the aim of Great Learning Academy. Whenever you complete a course, we provide these certifications because we understand that as a fresher, it might be difficult for you to get a job immediately. So when you add these certifications on your resume or onto your LinkedIn profile, it will help your resume to stand out from the crowd. And when I say that HR normally searches through the keywords, they would also look through, let's say if you have any certifications or not. And if you have listed down these certifications, that is definitely beneficial to you guys. Look, Divya is saying ridge and lasso regression. Absolutely. So these are also concepts which you would have to know if you are focusing on any of the ML based roles. Gautam Arasu is saying, I'm a fresher in the data science domain. Can you tell me about the resume format? Sure. As a fresher, always remember that your resume should not be more than one page. Right? So this was a resume which I had created after I had 2 years of experience. So you see, I had graduated in 2017. So from 2017 to 2019 or 20, I guess. So for 2 years of experience, this is my one-page resume. And in this one-page resume, I have listed down all of the keywords. And now, let's say if you have worked on a lot of projects and these projects are very important to be listed down, only in that particular case your resume needs to be more than one page. Else, a one-page resume is more than enough. As a fresher, keep this in mind that if you don't have any stellar academics or if you haven't really worked on any path breaking projects, make sure that you keep your resume down to one page, which is more than enough. And here, as you see in this one page resume, I have given more than enough information for the HR to shortlist this, right? So make sure that most of your information is listed down in one page, and that is good enough. So this is important. And also normally one major mistake which freshers normally do is they list down random hobbies in their resume. So here, as you see, I have not listed down any of my hobbies because my hobbies are not really worth mentioning. They don't stand out. So let's say I play chess regularly, but my chess rating is it's only around 850. So you have chess grandmasters whose rating is 2700. Then you have international masters whose chess rating is around 2500. So when you compare my chess rating to those people, I play chess for fun. I play chess for pleasure. Now, even though it's a hobby of mine, but the problem is it's not something which will stand out. So that is why I've not listed it. So only if you have done something which stands out, list it. So let's say if you're if you have participated in any of the Model United Nations and you have actually represented your college somewhere. List it down. That is important. Let's say if you're a national level football player or a national level TT player, list that down. But let's say if you play cricket regularly and if you play cricket in your gully, that is not something which stands out because every person in India plays cricket, and that is not something which stands out. So make sure that if you have a hobby, it needs to stand out, only then list it out. But let's say if you have a interesting hobby which not many people do. So let's say if you are a bird photographer, that's a hobby which not many people do. That is something which you can actually add it over here. But then again, make sure that you do not glorify or write a lot of stuff about your hobbies. Just add a one-liner, which is more than enough over there. Nayanika is asking, please share career roadmap in ML. Sure. So that's again a good question, Nayanika. So when you say career roadmap in ML, there are actually certain steps which you would have to focus. What I'll do is I'll actually open another presentation of mine where we have the ML career roadmap. So I'll just open this PPT over here for you folks. Now, there are certain pillars of machine learning which you would have to know if you would want to get started in the field of machine learning. So the first step in machine learning is mathematics. And now, again, some of the tutorials which you see in YouTube might tell you that math is not important. Only learn Python and R, which is more than enough for you to get a machine learning job, which is totally wrong. And that is why most of the machine learning roles which are there in the industry, those roles are actually backed by people who actually have a master's degree in machine learning or a PhD in machine learning. And in your master's or in your PhD, you learn a lot of mathematics which are essential to implementing all of your ML algorithms. So you have certain important topics such as linear algebra, statistics, and calculus. So let's focus on each of these. So the first is linear algebra, and linear algebra is important because, again, as I've told you, you have certain algorithms which are directly based on linear algebra. You have linear regression and logistic regression. So equation of a linear line. What are you doing over there? That is basically linear algebra. So let's say if you're solving the equation of two lines, or if you're finding out a solution, so let's say if you have two lines, L1 and L2, and they intersect at one particular point, and you have to find out the point of intersection. What are you doing over there? That is basic linear algebra. And there are situations where you would have to find, let's say you'll have these solutions when you're finding the ideal value in your linear regression algorithm as well. So that is why linear algebra is important. Then we have statistics. Statistics in itself forms a pillar of machine learning because all of your ML algorithms, you have to understand that whenever you're working with data, you have to understand that these ML algorithms we are building, you're building these ML algorithms on top of your data, and your data has to be present in a tidy format. Now, what do I mean when I say your data has to be present in a tidy format? What I mean is, as I've told you, a data analyst mostly works on pre-processing your data. And that is because your raw data would have a lot of anomalous values, would have a lot of inconsistencies, would have a lot of missing values. And this is where a data analyst would come in and convert your raw data into tidy data. Now, once you have your tidy data with you, you have to understand which algorithms can I apply on this particular data. So let's say in statistics, you have something called as a bell curve. What is a bell curve? Well, as the name states, it looks like a bell, and Here, the bell curve is based on something known as normal distribution. And whenever you're building your algorithms, keep it in mind that your data has to be normally distributed. Now, when your data is normally distributed, it would mean that your data can be represented in the form of a bell curve. And when you can represent your data in the form of a bell curve, there an interesting aspect of the bell curve is the mean, median, and mode are equal at the top of the curve. And that is very, very important. So now that you understand how your data is and you also have your knowledge of statistics, on the basis of that you will decide which algorithm to actually apply on this particular data. So that is why statistics is important. Then we have calculus. So what do we have in calculus? Well, calculus is essentially integration and differentiation. And why is integration important? Integration is important because you'll be able to find the area of a curve. So if you'd have to find any of the area of a curve, you will be using calculus. So these are certain things which are essentially important. And as I've told you, there is also differentiation. And where does differentiation come in? So differentiation is an important part when it comes to back propagation in neural networks. So in neural networks, you have something called as forward propagation and back propagation. In forward propagation, what you're doing is you are finding out a value. Now, the problem is in the forward propagation, the value which you get is mostly incorrect. So you back propagate and you update the weights which are present in the neural networks. And when you're back propagating, you are actually differentiating through the weights. And when you're differentiating through the weights, that is how you are optimizing the weights to get the perfect result. So that is why mathematics is really important. And if you're bad at mathematics, you have to understand that it will not be easy for you to bag that machine learning engineer role. You might get that data analyst role or a business intelligence role, but getting that ML role or a deep learning role or computer vision role, that would be difficult for you. So that is why the pay is also the pay gap is huge when it comes to a data analyst and a machine learning engineer. So let's say a data analyst in India on an average would maybe get around 4 to 5 lakhs as a fresher, let's say. As a fresher, a data analyst might get around 4 to 5 lakhs, which is the normal pay. But as a fresher in machine learning, as a machine learning engineer, as a fresher, you might be earning somewhere around 8 to 10 lakhs. So this is because the difference in the knowledge and the difference in the skills of both of these two people. So I hope that helps you. This is the first pillar. Now that we have covered the first pillar, then we have the second pillar, which is programming. So when it comes to programming, absolutely we have Python at the top. So whichever industry you look at, most of these ML algorithms are being implemented with Python. And also when we talk about the deep learning frameworks such as TensorFlow and Keras or PyTorch, all of these deep learning frameworks are also written with Python. And apart from Python, another language which is widely used is R. Now it would depend or vary between project to project, but I'd recommend you guys to learn both Python and R. So as you guys have seen in my resume, I have listed both Python as well as R because it is important that you know both of these, and your hiring manager would normally think that if you know Python, you might also know R because both of these are very similar languages. There is not much difference between the syntax of Python and R, and if you know R, it will be easy to learn Python. Similarly, if you know Python, it will be extremely easy to learn R as well. So make sure that you list down both of these, you have knowledge of both of these, because in the industry, the choice of language would actually depend on the project. So we have covered the first pillar, we have covered the second pillar, which is programming, then we have the third pillar, which are absolutely algorithms. So you have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning, and you have to list down all of the algorithms that you have knowledge of in your resume. So as you can see over here, in my resume, I have listed down about all of the supervised learning algorithms that I've worked on. And as you see, I have not listed much with respect to unsupervised learning or reinforcement learning, because at the time when I was applying, I did not have much knowledge of unsupervised learning or reinforcement learning, and I had to brush up my knowledge on unsupervised learning. So that is why I have listed only supervised learning over here. So this is extremely important. So let's say if I was attending an interview and I list down everything in unsupervised learning, such as k-means clustering, hierarchical clustering, principal component analysis, linear discriminant analysis, and all of these. Now I just list them down for the sake of it, but I have no knowledge of these algorithms. So what will happen in the interview is, if I'm asked anything about PCA or LDA, I would not be able to answer, and that is taken as a negative point against me. So this is why at the time of applying, I have listed down only the algorithms which I had good knowledge on. I'm not saying decent knowledge, I'm saying good knowledge, because I know that in the interview I'll be grilled with respect to whatever I've written on. So I want to be sure that whatever I've listed down in the resume, I have good knowledge of them. So let's say if I have only decent knowledge of it, then I would not list it out. And let's say if you have listed it out, then maybe list only one or two of those skills. Don't fill up your resume entirely with skills that you have no knowledge about. So let's say here in this resume, if I write down Android Studio or Swift. So I had worked with Android Studio long time back in my third year of engineering. So now let's say if I'm appearing for the interview, let's say if tomorrow I'm appearing for the interview and I write down Android Studio over here, the problem is I had worked with Android Studio in my third year of engineering, which was 3 years back. So now if I'm asked anything with respect to Android Studio, I will not be able to answer it, even though I'd worked on it. Now I don't even have decent knowledge of it. Right, I only know how to install Android Studio. Apart from that, I have zero knowledge of Android Studio right now, and that is why I've not listed it over here. So make sure that you list down only skills that you have knowledge. So these are some things which you'd have to keep in mind. Again, I'll go back to the chat and see if there are any more questions. Rabia Sheikh is asking, I'm a BCom student, can I join machine learning course? Absolutely. So when it comes to machine learning, you just have to understand that you need to have the will to learn, as simple as that. Right, so in my engineering, I did not have knowledge of all of these. So in my engineering, I did not know about artificial intelligence. In my engineering, I did not know about most of the machine learning algorithms, but I worked on them. And I keep on telling this example. So till my third year of engineering, I had known only two programming languages, which were Java and C++. But in my fourth year of engineering, we had to work on a project. And since we had to work on a project and I had zero knowledge of how to create a real world application or how to actually work on a project, what I thought was, let me learn something new. And that is how I got into the field of data science and machine learning. So I'd enrolled for this online course on data science and R programming. And that is where I learned everything about R programming, and I had decent knowledge about supervised and unsupervised learning algorithms. And from there, I had created this major project. So now, if you have the will to learn, you can absolutely start learning irrespective of whether you're from BCom or you're from mechanical engineering or you're from chemical engineering. So that should not be a hindrance to you at all. So I hope that answers your question. Chanji is asking machine learning versus data analysis in US dollars. That again would depend. So again, the difference you'd have to understand that a machine learning engineer would be paid more than a data analyst, even in US. That is for sure. So here, maybe a data analyst would get around, I'd say, 60 to 70,000, and a machine learning engineer would get upwards of $100,000. So this is how you'd be paid when it comes to US. Kashyap is saying, please organize a session on how to become a pro in data science. Absolutely. We have taken down your suggestion, and we will definitely consider, organizing a session on an end-to-end, how to completely learn data science end-to-end. And folks who have just joined, I'd like to inform you guys again that we are covering how to create the perfect machine learning resume. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. And if you haven't yet clicked the bell icon, please hit it. So folks, I'm looking for more questions from your side. If you have any questions, keep them coming. That would be very helpful. Chanji, in USA, how much salary difference would... So I already answered that when it comes to data analytics and machine learning job roles. A machine learning job role would fetch you more money or more salary when compared to a data analyst job role. And an important thing to keep in mind is when it comes to these ML based job roles, normally it's better to have a master's degree or a PhD degree. But here you'd have to again understand that if you have the skill, so let's say in your master's degree, you might just sleep in your dormitory for 2 years. You might do absolutely nothing, and you just have the master's degree for namesake. That master's degree will not help you. On the other hand, if you learn everything that is needed or that is covered in a master's degree, so in a master's degree, when it comes to ML, you will be having comprehensive courses on statistics, on machine learning, on deep learning frameworks. So let's say if you invest your time properly on developing all of these skills, and you also get maybe certification, some basic certification, that is also good enough for you guys. So understand that skills are what are required, and the first step is getting your resume shortlisted. And if you want to get your resume shortlisted, what the HR does is the HR normally searches through keywords. So write down the keywords over here, list down the keywords over here, and that would be that would be good enough to get your resume shortlisted. Kashyap is asking, does an ML engineer need deeper knowledge in probability? When you talk about probability, probability comes in handy. So let's say there's this really important domain called as game theory. So in game theory as well, a lot of machine learning algorithms are used. So let's say if you're working on something called as, if you're working on an application related to game theory or any of the applications where a lot of probability is required, that is where you need to have more knowledge related to probability. But normally statistics is what you need. And when we say actually probability, what you need to have is knowledge on probability distributions. So normal distribution, Gaussian distribution, Poisson distribution, these are the probability distributions that you need to have knowledge on. So I hope that answers your question. And also, I'll give you a very simple example of game theory. So I'm not sure how many of you folks have played this game called as poker. So poker is a study under game theory. Now, many might consider this poker as gambling, but if you actually study this game properly, it's all about math. And there is actually a good possibility that you can develop an ML algorithm which would tell you on which hands or on which deck of hearts you can actually bet on and on which deck of hands you can fold. So wherever you have a lot of numbers involved, probability is really important in those cases. VA Coder is asking, I'm in ninth class, I'm learning machine learning and AI and also wrote a research paper which got published. And so how can I get an internship or job type to upgrade my skills? VA Coder, that's actually amazing. If you're in ninth class and if you have already published a research paper, that's actually really commendable. So now if you'd want an internship, again, remember to create the perfect resume, list down the keywords. So let's say you have just stated that you have worked on a research paper. So write down what are the algorithms that you've used in the research paper, or what is the outcome of that research paper, and ensure that at least 3 or 4 of the primary keywords are listed down in your resume, and you have a proper explanation of what you have done in that research paper of yours. So that is a good way to start. And also list down, so let's say if you have worked on any of these algorithms or any of these coding languages, list them down properly. So this is what will get your resume shortlisted. So always remember that whenever, as a fresher, if your HR is shortlisting your resume, they will go through the keywords. So first step is to write down the keywords which the HR would normally search for. And when it comes to machine learning, the primary keywords would be these algorithms. So linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest. Apart from these algorithms, write down neural networks. So HR would normally go to, let's say Naukri.com. So let's say if there's an opening in Great Learning for a data scientist, and if the team lead gives the job description of a data scientist, that would definitely have the keywords of neural networks. It would definitely have a keyword called as decision tree or random forest. It would have keywords called as SQL or Python or R. And what the HR would do is the HR would go to Naukri.com and the HR would just write down these keywords over there, and whatever resumes or profiles would come up on those keywords, the HR would pick those profiles up. So this is how resumes are shortlisted from your online job listing sites, right? So this is how, or these are the things that you need to list down in your resume. Is it necessary to make resume ATS friendly? For every job we have to change the keywords? Yes. The answer would definitely be yes. Because let's say this resume which you see, this is for an ML based role. But if I'm actually applying for a software development engineer role, then these would not matter much. So if I'm actually applying for a SD role, then what I'd list down is more of these things. I'd list down more of data structures, algorithms. I'll list down about the rank which I had in Hacker Rank. I'll list down about the projects which I've created. So let's say if I've created a snake game, or maybe if I've done something else. These are the things that I'd list down. And also I'd maybe list down a bit of operating system, a bit of more of SQL related things, more of searching, sorting algorithms, more of time complexity, space complexity. So these are the keywords which I'd list down if I'm applying for a software development engineer role. So always keep in mind that prepare your resume with respect to the job role. So if I forward this resume to, let's say, for the role of a full stack developer, then I'm pretty sure that most probably this resume will not be shortlisted. But on the other hand, if I forward this resume for an ML based role or a data science role or a data analytics role, then I have a pretty good chance of this resume being shortlisted. So always prepare your resume on the basis of the job role. Badmash Raja is asking, I didn't get a reply. I'm in 8th class. I've completed my BCom in correspondence. Work for hardware networking company in NOC team. I am a game addict by playing day by day. I'm interested to learn coding. If yes, from which language can I start? C, C++, Java, Python, etc. So, Raja, again, irrespective of whatever knowledge you have, so as you've just said, you're in 8th class, so you can start. My recommendation would be Python and Java. So start with these two languages. So always I'd say maybe start with a language which is an object-oriented programming language, right? So what is an object-oriented programming language? Well, simple answer is you can represent objects. And what are objects? Whatever real world entities you have. So let's say if I have this phone with me right now. So this phone is an object. Now similarly, let's say if I have a book beside me, that would be an object. And if I have to represent these real world entities in a programming paradigm, I would need an object oriented programming language. And two of the best object oriented programming languages would be Python and Java. So start with these two languages and I'm sure you will have a fruitful learning experience. Saroj is asking, I have 12 years of experience in power and automation and only 1 year experience in ML. So which experience should I apply? More 12 years or 1 year? That's a very interesting question, Saroj. So here again, you'd have to ask yourself, what is it that you'd want? So let's say if you'd want to switch to a completely ML based role. So let's say if it's a core machine learning engineer role or a computer vision role, you'd have to understand that you will normally start from the scratch. Since you have 12 years of experience in a completely different domain, now here you have only 1 year of experience in machine learning. But if you have the relevant skills, so let's say if you're there on one hand and on the other hand there is another person who has 12 years of experience in the field of ML, and if both of you are applying for the same job role, the other person would be given preference. But if both of you have the same skills, then what you have to do is make sure that you list them down properly on your resume, right? List them down properly on your resume, then you have a good chance of it. But again, you have to ask yourself, why is it that I'd want to switch to an ML based role? Now that you have 12 years of experience in automation, so maybe in automation itself, you can use machine learning concepts, right? So there are a lot of so let's say in Great Learning we have this course called as AIFL, which stands for Artificial Intelligence for Leaders. Now, this course is designed for the top management, such as the senior managers, the CEOs, COOs. Now, all of those in management roles, they do not have the technical expertise when it comes to AI or ML. But since the world is leaning towards artificial intelligence and ML, they are upskilling themselves in this particular domain so that they understand what is it that the company would want or where is it that the company can properly invest. So similarly, since you have 12 years of experience in automation, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be a lot of applications of machine learning in automation itself. So in the last live session, someone was asking about application of ML in for a CA. So I'd given this example over there. So as an engineer, whenever I'd have to file my taxes, I find it extremely hard, and I'm actually scared of filing my taxes. So let's say if a CA who has knowledge of machine learning builds a tool where everything is automated, all I have to do is maybe write down my PAN card details and my taxes are automatically filed. Right? So this is an amazing application of ML, isn't it? So in your domain, I'm pretty sure there'd be a lot of applications of ML. Focus on those roles, upskill in ML, upskill in AI, and I'm pretty sure you can use those skills in your domain as well. And the best part about AI and ML or data science is these are used across a lot of industries, and I can say that these are domain agnostic. Right? When I say domain agnostic, data science can be applied in the field of, let's say, let's say in the field of education, it can be used in the field of e-commerce, it can be used in the field of finance, it can be used in the field of biology. So whatever domain you take, data science, ML, and AI can be used in that particular domain. So I hope that answers your question. Right. So folks, I guess this would be it from my side. I have taken as many questions that that I could, and this would be it from my side. Hopefully, this was of value to you folks, and you have learned how to create a proper resume so that it can get shortlisted. So thank you, and we'll meet again in my next live session. So I'm